Roman ingenuity built more than baths and aqueducts. Across the empire, engineers created the infrastructure for a way of life, a life of health and prosperity unknown elsewhere in the ancient world. Rome was everybody's role model. Whatever was served in the capital was also on the menu in the colonies. Olives from northern Africa or tropical fruits, and even rice was found in a well nearby. The Romans relied on a vibrant trade all the way to India and China. And trade sparked innovation and technological transfer. Roman trade stretched from China to the British Isles, but whether by land or water, all routes led to Rome. Rome established Ostia as its main port in the 6th century BC. Just 20 miles west of Rome on the Tiber River, Ostia became Rome's first colony. In this major supply centre, the good life meant good business. For its 50,000 inhabitants, Ostia boasted all the comforts of a Roman city, including dry cleaners and city avenues lined with multi-storey apartment buildings, as well as a sewer system and another Roman convenience, public latrines. Must have been a little crowded. In Ostia's many markets, everything changed hands, from food and everyday household goods to luxury items. Technology alone won't make you rich. For that you need organisation, and just what formidable organisers the Romans were, you can sense here. This square is known as the Piazza of the Corporations, so called because each of these niches belonged to a group of merchants who functioned exactly like a modern corporation or shipping line, specialising in particular routes and commodities from particular parts of the Roman world. This niche belonged to the merchants of Carthage, who brought wheat from North Africa. There are others for French merchants, where they bought wool, still others for Arabians bringing dates and other Eastern luxuries, produce and merchants from all over the Mediterranean world. In warehouses like these, goods were marked and stored. Perishable items were placed in dolia, like these, dug into the ground to keep them cool. Simple but effective technology like this brought wealth into Roman households, into a world with an ever-growing hunger for the good life. And to meet this growing demand, the Romans began to think about scale. In the modern world, we associate the idea of mass production with the name of Henry Ford, but the Romans had a similar idea a long, long time ago. This is a flour mill, one of a dozen or so that once ground flour together in this room. The way it worked was this. The whole wheat was poured in the top, and the mill turned around through a system of rods and levers that fitted into these holes. The ground flour would then pour out from down below. This Ostia flour mill was pretty big at the time, but in the province of Gaul, the Romans made a giant leap. At Barbegal, near modern-day Arles in southern France, the Romans created one of the first prototypes of industrialization, a water-powered flour factory. Guided not over 1, but 16 water wheels in 2 parallel rows of 8, the water dropped from one wheel to the next. What made it even more efficient was, for once, a distinctly Roman invention, the overshot water wheel. It utilised water 8 times more efficiently than the traditional undershot water wheel. With this mill, the Romans could produce enough flour to feed the entire population of ancient Arles, a minimum of 12,000 people every day. Here in Ostia, large volume and lower costs meant more profits. And as the empire spread, more people enjoyed the Roman lifestyle. But the concept that increased food production propelled yet another industry. Clay drinking cups were common in ancient Rome, but the coarse clay soaked up tastes and retained odours. Absorbing oils and juices, it provided a breeding ground for bacteria. Glass, on the other hand, was odourless, tasteless and hygienic. So once glassblowing was discovered, around 50 BC in one of Rome's other colonies, modern-day Syria, the process spread across the empire in just 40 years, and a new industry was on the rise. Countless Roman glass artefacts found in the Cologne area indicate the city's past as an epicenter of glass production. traders carried glassware from Cologne throughout the empire. It soon became another mark of refinement for the Roman lifestyle. In order to understand how the Romans met the demand, we asked a modern glassblowing company to demonstrate the Roman technique. Even today, glass is blown basically the same way the ancient Syrians did it. Put a blob of melted glass on the end of a long tube, blow air down the tube until a bubble is formed. Here is where the Romans introduced a simple but ingenious innovation. Rather than shape the bubble by hand, they used a mould. With a mould, a team of glassmakers could turn out large volume at high speed. Though moulds are now often made from metal, the Roman production concept has changed very little. "2,000 years later, the Romans still contribute to meeting the demands of the marketplace. But the Romans did more. They refined the material by inventing techniques to create some of the finest treasures of the ancient world, like this masterpiece. To this day, experts can't agree on how it was made. One researcher experimented for over 40 years. He believes he's found the answer. Through innovations like using a mould in glassmaking, the Romans raised a simple handicraft to industrialised mass production, long before Henry Ford. To understand how the Romans achieved their technological edge, researchers analyse contemporary analogues and reconstruct remnants of their culture. Still, some of their most stunning achievements remain a mystery. Like this marvel of Roman craftsmanship called caged glass. Found not in Rome but in tombs along the border, they are luxurious in their detail, but their purpose remains clouded. However, researchers believe that if they can determine how caged glass was made, they will learn more about the craftsmen and the ancient Roman civilization that supported them. I went to see a man who has spent 40 years of his life searching for the lost Roman technique. Joseph Welzel uses tools that are in essence the same as those used by the Romans. All he's added is electricity. In caged glass, a lace-like layer is supported above an inner core by small struts. There are several theories on how caged glass was created, and Herr Welzel has experimented with them all. He spends hundreds of hours creating replicas while searching for the final answer.
Do you want?
Yes. Okay. This is making me extremely nervous because if I make one mistake here, then Herr Welzel is going to be very upset with me. And secondly, makes me think of the dentist. Some of his colleagues believe that the Romans made the basic form by blowing one glass into another. Herr Welzel doesn't agree. When he replicated an earlier Roman treasure, the famous Portland vase, Herr Welzel found a clue. The Portland vase is decorated with figurine cameo cuts. Cameos were a popular Roman jewellery technique, so Herr Welzel is convinced that not glassmakers but jewellers had the skills and tools to create these treasures. In his opinion, Roman craftsmen made caged glass by cutting away from the surface of a thick-walled vessel to create the two layers. By creating replicas of Roman objects, we can learn a vast amount about the technology that went into them. The only thing hard enough to cut glass is a diamond, and we know for a fact that the only diamonds in ancient times came from India. So to make this, the Romans had to sustain a traffic that went many thousands of miles to the east. And then there's the sheer laboriousness of the exercise. This requires many, many months of skilled labour. We learn from that the Romans used their technology not only to make their lives safer and easier, but more comfortable. This is not a necessity, it's a luxury. The whole point of this object is this: if you've got it, you flaunt it. And it went further than personal possessions. The Romans used their skills for yet another effect. Intimidation. Frontier settlements like Xanten relied on it. The legions stationed here were often outnumbered by the local Germanic warriors 10 to 1. To compensate, researchers believe the Romans augmented their superior training and war machines with another strategy: psychological warfare. What made their technology such an effective tool of empire for the Romans was not just the technical difficulties it enabled them to overcome, but its political, even its psychological impact. The ability to build big, to build a building such as this one, made a massive impact on the Germanic tribes that lived in these parts. In effect, it said, "We are the Romans, this is what we are capable of, and we're here to stay." The message is unequivocal. Any barbarian that takes on the Roman Empire is a very silly barbarian. Xanten's harbour temple is a clear statement. The Romans firmly believed their structures embodied the power and glory of the empire. And along with temples, arenas spoke of Roman might and engineering superiority. No colony was complete without one. But I was interested in the more practical side of the big building strategy. How'd they do it? Eventually, a replica in the park gave me the answer. The drum crane was an essential tool in the Roman build big strategy. Through an ingenious system of pulleys and winches, this remarkable machine reduced lifting force at every stage. If lifting 4,000 pounds, the first two pulleys with 5 rollers each divided the force needed by 1/5. The well drum divided the force again by 5. Then the winch reduced to 1/10. So 4 Romans, each using only 4 pounds of lifting power, could easily raise 4,000 pounds of whatever using this astonishing machine. Here is the ingenuity that gave the Roman architect so much muscle. With this, he could think and build big. Roman builders were also incredibly adaptable. They built what was needed with what they had. That wasn't always an easy task. Roman buildings meant solid painted walls and ceramic tile roofs. The model was Rome. On the frontier, traditional building materials were difficult to come by and expensive to import. So to meet the colonists' expectation to live in the Roman way, builders had to be creative. Architect and researcher Peter Kienzler pointed out some evidence of just how innovative the Roman builders had been at Xanten. Peter, how old is this wall?
Well, this wall's probably been built in the 2nd century AD. So what you can see here, it's the foundation, and then you get the outer surface.
Oh, so originally this wall was entirely covered with stones like this?
Exactly, you've got stones like this, row by row, and this is just the core.
Why didn't they just build the wall of stones?
Well, it's far too expensive and it takes far too long. What you do is you build up a face of stones like this, and then you pour in Roman concrete called opus cementitium behind.
Here, like in so many Roman constructions, concrete was the key. They used it everywhere for anything. Perhaps what makes it one of the Romans' greatest inventions is the adaptability of the recipe.
The first most important ingredient is lime. This is a limestone. And the limestone is burned in a furnace, and what you get is quicklime.
This powder.
With quicklime you add water, and then you get slaked lime or lime putty. The next step is you add sand. If you mix it up, that's a basic mortar in Roman times.
Now, is this waterproof?
This is not waterproof.
In Rome, builders discovered that using pozzolanic ash from a nearby volcano made the concrete waterproof. So without volcanic ash, frontier builders had to change the recipe.
They came up with a splendid idea. Now, what you have very often is broken tiles.
Right.
So you can melt iron and use it a second time. You can melt glass, use it a second time. But you cannot reuse fired tiles. What they did was actually to grind the tiles, and you have broken tile material, just very fine, and you add it.
You mix that in, and that does the same job as Pozzolano.
Exactly. What you get is a hydraulic lime mortar. And this hydraulic lime mortar is waterproof. You use it for basins, for aqueducts, and you can use it for foundation walls.
It might not look like much, but this stuff is quite literally one of the building blocks of empire. Scale, efficiency, innovation, and, don't forget, shock and awe were at the heart of Roman Empire building. And though these ideas were manifested on an impressive level in the colonies, the city of Rome was the benchmark for everything. Little wonder that it was there that Roman technology and innovation reached their peak. Technology alone wasn't enough to build the Roman Empire. It took more. It took ideas. And while the colonies mirrored Roman ways, the standard was always set in Rome. It was there where some of the biggest ideas about scale, innovation and organisation took shape. The Colosseum is the largest of 186 Roman amphitheatres we know, and it is certainly the most impressive. It was here where technology supported a darker side of the Roman lifestyle, at the Games. The gruesome spectacles staged in this arena included slaughtering humans and animals by the thousands. Call it PR for the empire. At the Colosseum, the Romans showed off their might. It would take years of patient research to uncover the clever system the Romans used to produce their festivals of shock and awe.
We are here in the basement and we have the big puzzle from the system.
Dr. Heinz-Jürgen Bester was always fascinated by the Colosseum and its bloody history. For 8 years he researched written records and studied clues left in the ruins, trying to understand the role technology played in the horror that took place here. His search led him to the Colosseum basement and some intriguing grooves in the walls.
We have here off the right side the small corridors, and here came the animals, and we have here one place for the winch.
When he pieced together the puzzle, a startling picture emerged. The grooves supported a system of winches used to lift bears and wolves and, yes, lions and leopards onto the arena floor. Trapdoors opened that became ramps for taunted animals to charge up and join the spectacle. Their ingenuity can be found in every detail.
And we have here the original bongs for the winch.
Beautiful.
Yes, the pillar store here.
The pillar would rest in here. How did it turn around?
With the pad.
Dr. Bester explained that the base of each winch was round, and so was the bottom of the pillar. They touched only in one tangent point, making it easier to turn the pillar and lift the weight.
Off point.
So it would swing around beautifully smoothly.
Yes.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Dr. Bester developed sophisticated graphics that reveal the secrets of the system. Like clockwork, 8 workers on 28 winches, 256 people in all, were choreographed in a system including pulleys, levers and ropes that raised 28 cages in split-second intervals, sliding their deadly freight up from the basement to join the horror taking place above.
We have here the next slide for all the wall.
I see.
For the cage.
So this is the slide up which the cage would...
Yes. We have.
So every 10 yards, you'd have another... You'd have the same system over and over and over.
Yes. Look
And the whole thing was completely symmetrical,
Yes.
So all the way around. I've never been in a building that aroused such mixed emotions. On the one hand, this is a place of awesome, colossal beauty. And then there's the thought of what actually happened here, the blood, the cries, the fear and the pain. This basement was, if you like, the special effects department of the Roman world. The special effects for a horror movie. The difference being that here, the horror was real. Their ability to adapt simple technologies into complex systems created the foundation for the Roman way and a standard of living unparalleled in ancient times. Roman roads and bridges connected and created the Western world. The Romans leave behind a legacy of grandeur and an appreciation for bold innovations. Whether expressed through architecture, art or craftsmanship, the Romans inspire us. You can still hear the echoes and see the traces of ancient Rome. We are all, in a sense, inheritors of the Roman legacy, whether it's the necessities of our life or its luxuries. In that sense, it is fair to say that we are all a little bit Roman.